So without any further delay, let's begin our review of the Inquisitor and the suggestions that we can extract from it to the trireme. Okay, let's begin at the bow, and then we'll move further backwards until we reach the aft section. Now, like I said before, this ship is meant to be used fighting, describing an orbit around the enemy, trying to put as many as your own turrets facing the enemy. So you don't want to use it from the front. So in the front we have this beautiful observation deck. Now I do have to say, in my own cruiser I do have a front observation deck. It's just that I made it like really deep inside of the ship's hull, and I protected it with blast doors, but I think this would damage the aesthetics of the ship and wouldn't actually help because the ship is not designed to fight like that. So we have Conrad's standard airlock. And we reach, this is kind of like an actual airlock. When I first loaded the ship, I thought this was the already, like, like a lobby space, but this is like an airlock. Think of this as a like a prep room with imagine spacesuits around. And now the first thing that I'm gonna say, and I actually suggested this to him on Steam, is to do away with the interior blocks. Now these blocks work really well with accents. I'm actually guilty of using this. I used to do this a lot with my ships, a lot of interior blocks, until my friend Seth showed me like the insane increase in poly count and the sheer impact that they had in the game's performance. So now I only use them for to emphasize places that have piping or places that need lighting on the floor, like engineering or some special pathways that I want to follow in a ship, kind of like when you're in an airplane and you see the lights. So those are the big airlocks side to side. This is the main corridor of the ship. As you can see, it has a very well buried spinal conveyor line, which again, also whoever watches the video takes notes. This is the way that I recommend to do conveyors. I found out that redundant conveyor lines on each side, they don't work as well. They actually weaken the ship because you have like 2 holes or 3 holes running through the bulkheads, and always missiles shift through to the exterior armor, so the deeper, the more armor fat that you have protecting the conveyor lines, the better. We have the standard medbay, and I think he's running M-Master's configurable automatic LCDs, so we have a big spawning bay. Cryopods on the other. For ship this size, we have 5 cryopods, which should be enough to crew a ship like this in any given faction. And we have the observation deck, which, like I said, I really like. It's well, I like the observation deck, not the windows. Anyway, let's go back. And this is where it gets really interesting, and this is something that I also like to do in my own designs, and I recommend you guys do also, is he has a CIC that is completely isolated from the rest of the ship. I did this in my carriers and I did it in my cruiser. So you can have crew members walk around doing whatever they need, especially if you're mining or doing some damage control or repairs or upgrades on the ship. You don't have people running around into the CIC bothering you. Now that works well for role playing. It also works really well for protection. Now my suggestion would be to actually encase this wall that you see here in the CIC with heavy armor. Then you will have a double layer heavy armor with space, and now empty space is as good as any other armor that you're gonna find. Another interesting thing that you could do is place diagonal blocks facing inwards. It doesn't look that pretty. It kind of looks like the interior of a recording studio, or some type of anechoic space to test radar stuff. But what that does is that the deformation doesn't transfer through the adjacent blocks. So, or you could do that for a CIC. You could place the diagonal blocks in the CIC, or just heavy armor. I mean, it's anything but this. But interior blocks, they are super weak. And as you can see here, I'm using Digi's build info. Integrity 675 hit points. I mean, these go really fast. Let's try the integrity of, well, this type of seat that you're having here. You have 1730. So, and this is a funny thing, in more than one occasion I found myself like quote unquote ejected with seat and all because of a missile shifting through the whole of the ship. So the missile hit is actually not powerful enough to fully destroy the seat. So you get a damaged seat with you still sitting on it, but a fully destroyed interior block. And then you find yourself like floating around inside of this space. It's quite funny. It's hilarious, but well, you get what I'm trying to say. Now, I really enjoy these designs of CICs. I've been like spending hours on end trying to perfect my own CICs for my ships, and at this point, like the only suggestion that I would have for these, and of course, like translating, like exporting this into the trireme, is having some seats that don't automatically put you into third-person view. The other kind, how are they called? Keep forgetting the name. Flight seats, like this. So you can actually have crew members looking at these screens, or yourself looking at the screens when you're flying it. Sometimes you have important data that you don't want to share with the whole clutter that the screen has in the game at the moment. So you just do away with the HUD, and you have your information here, especially the one that displays the individual ammo that you have on each turret, stuff like that. So you have pressurization here, and position, speed. So in the end, oh yeah, damage control. This is really important. So this layout of CIC, it's one of my main recommendations to put into the trireme. Okay, moving on. After the CIC, we have the main cargo hold, and it has also the oxygen supply with the oxygen generators. Now this is really a good array. I would also protect this area with some heavy armor here and there, because one of the worst things that can happen is a popped container. Now these containers have a higher hit point count, but they seem to be more susceptible to damage because of the bigger area. So anything that collides, I mean, even if it is a single tiny block from debris of a fighter that you destroyed, and it has more chances of hitting an area this big and bursting the container, and then that cascades into the contents of the container, ripping through in the direction of the opposite direction of the flying vector that you're actually heading. So yeah, it's nasty. But let's take a look with spectator. Well, they seem very well protected from the sides, especially. And yeah, there's heavy armor there, but no reason to have many worries about. Then after this we have the main stairwell, and these two are engineering control sections. Let's see what these do. Refineries, assemblers, emergency power, and reactors. So you do power management here, and this is a good idea, this type of arrangement. And of course he has the two joint LCDs displaying components, ingots. It's mirrored here, yes. Now there's no direct access to the engineering compartment. This main stairwell, which is really spacious. You could maybe get away with using the smaller type of stairs, the ones that were originally like windows with blinds, but everyone uses as stairs, or even setting these ones vertically. You would compress this space horizontally, and you would get an extra, room here for maybe more jump drives. And we go to the navigation bridge, which is very spacious. You can look up. You can look to the sides, to the front, and see nothing because the windows are dirty. So, okay, now let's take a look at the engineering compartment from the inside. I'm doing all this because, like I said before, I want to, I would like to suggest moving some of the features that you find in the Inquisitor towards the trireme. Okay. Centralized conveyor line with leading pipes to the turrets. We have 2 jump drives. It may not be enough for a ship this size. I would recommend at least 4. Same goes for the trireme. 2 reactors, yep, that's basically what you're gonna need when you have this type of mass. Now, something that I want to stress is the gyro placement. They are placed not directly on exterior armor, but facing that direction. So maybe I know it doesn't look as good, but placing them on the batteries don't deform, they don't transfer damage that well, they don't leak damage. And I know it goes against aesthetics, but if you're worried with gyros coming loose, and this is just a domino effect waiting to happen if it happens. I mean, it's, to be fair, it's really well protected. I mean, it's only vulnerable from the belly down here because you have the entire nacelle protecting the rest. But something to consider. Now, a loose gyro is gonna let loose all of the rest, and it's gonna take out the reactors. It's happened to me. So this is really cool engineering. It actually lends itself for crew access. Now that I think of it, you can have walkways on the top, on the sides, to have. I always like to have manual, like hand welder access to everything, because it's been proven to me time and time again in playing survival that eventually it's gonna come to that. That missile that shifts through, that faces through, and damages something here, then you have to go in, weld it by hand. And it would also have, a really good effect. This is a really good looking engineering. It's way better than mine. Mine look all like, like a Space Hulk. Okay, so that's for the Inquisitor, and now let's see what can we export from it into the trireme.